Today we're talking about routine behaviors. This is one of those days where there's a bunch of stuff here that we'll just say goes together. You may find that it isn't all a logical, coherent set, but it'll make up our group for today. It's all good points. Everything I've got here is just points. I don't really want you to isolate them into this little thing or that little package. They're just points, all of which you should have heard if you're trying to understand the habits, the mindset of highly effective impressionists. So today's routine behaviors, let's just jump right into it. The first one, knowing that we are just checking to see if I still have sound. Knowing that we are painting a piece of nature in front of us, we're actually not making up pictures and all that sort of thing. We're painting from life, and we're looking at it and trying to discover what makes it do what it does. And it all has to do with colors and values, where they are and what they are in other ways in relation to each other. And but it requires a searching mentality. You don't go out there and say, I got this, and then fix all these things and then believe in them. It's because you have to get all the way around to before you can know whether the first note was good, right? I always say the first note is a pig in a poke. The first note out there, whatever you put down, and we as people care about color, we're setting out color notes, and we're using those notes as a beginning point to begin to see the ensemble of the color scheme, to see the value relations and the color relations we're going to begin to work with. And it gives us this little moment in the sun. It gives our color a little moment in the sun to be free, to do its own thing without the constraints of drawing all sitting on it. Now, I had someone text me or email me the other day, and he was talking about his frustration. Why can't I put some drawing down? You can put drawing down, but you still have to maintain the searching mentality. Don't have this idea that what we're doing is, by the way, even if you just did drawing, even if you did it grisette, it wouldn't matter. The searching mentality, if you're painting from life, the searching mentality always maintains. You're on the hunt for what's happening in nature, and it's a hunt for the relationships, right? So I like that. It was a Tarbell idea where I first heard that idea of the search. But maintain the search idea, right? Your research, it might be another word for it, okay? You're putting out notes and seeing if you can get it to perform in this canvas what you see in nature. Staying within yourself is a pretty important thing, important all the time. What that means, and I say take it easy, might be a better way into this one, but what that means when you say take it easy, it just means hit the notes you can. When you first put down these spots, hit the most beautiful note, hit the one you love, the one that your brain isn't intimidated by, right? And don't get ambitious for it. Don't go to the next step and the next step. Just hit that note and hit another note and let yourself go around until you've got several notes. But take them from the point of view of the things you find either fascinating or have some other easy way in, right? But that I'm always reminded of the Pete Seeger, talking about the Union Blues, I think he had it was called, but he said he was trying to get the Union guys to take it easy. I assume that means to try to get your rights or your whatever, get some more control of how much you're getting paid, but don't get violent, I hope. That's what he meant. But the idea of taking it easy, let it come to you. Stay within yourself. Don't be overreaching. You'll find that there are things you shouldn't be reaching for yet. They're not there for you yet. And this quiet search for the color, it leads on its own to the drawing. You'd be very pleasantly surprised. And so people say, can I do this now? Can I do this? Now students will say that. And why are you asking? The thing is, you're supposed to be listening to what's happening. And there's going to be a moment where you know what, for example, when you get the color relationship really, really singing, it'll be self-evident that it's time to begin some drawing, right? To begin some articulation of to bring two colors together and actually make them perform as effects. And then again, take those easy, take the strong and easy ones. Don't be hunting for trouble and the subtleties and the nuance and blah, blah, blah. Don't be doing that. And the details have no idea where they are. So that's, so take it easy. Take the things that you can grasp, like the strong places or the rich and beautiful ones and all those things, and let the world just come to you. You see what I mean? There's a mentality there. It's sort of a Zen thing. Take it easy. staying objective and unemotional is a big deal, right? Now that conversation always comes around about, that Gamble brought at least to us, comes around in my mind to about the actor whose job isn't to stand on a stage and feel emotions. His job is to stand on the stage and make you feel emotions. Precisely the kind of thing DeGaulle was talking about as well. So your job out there is to stay above it all, to stay objective. When you put 2 or 3 or 4 color notes down there, your job is to stay above it all and ask yourself, are they truly right in relation? Cold-blooded question. Stay there. Don't be out there seeing, feeling things like, don't be feeling that, oh man, I might fail. I mean, any feelings in this game are a problem for you. Stay above it. Stay above it. Doesn't mean at the end of the day your job isn't to make other people feel what you felt and responding to the beauty of what you saw in front of you. That is your job. But keep in mind the balanced perspective. You got to be, to perform this job well. You got to be all there, very objective. If you want to say very analytical, now you can't make marks analytically, but you got to be above it all. You got to keep on asking hard questions, and that you can ask simple questions. Is it more like this or is it more like that? There are ways to get, and we'll talk about that. There's ways to get to certainty. But even in the searching mentality, your idea is to get to certainty, the truth of the relations in front of you, and to get the quality of the effect, the beauty of the effect that you're trying to project to others. So it takes an unemotional and objective mindset to do that. That's true of everything, but I'm just using color as an example right now. So maintaining your greater vision while working on parts or local areas, if you didn't get a greater vision, if you didn't look at it as the thing as a whole and say, oh my golly, yes, I'm beginning to see, looking long enough, this is that look 4 times for average. Well, if you look a long time, let yourself be saturated by the beauty of this thing. And it'll start coming to what's doing now, what's happening here, what is. But you have the right, and you have an obligation actually to say, what is it I am responding to? What is it that I love? What's happening here? And let that thing sort of own you a little bit, okay? And that way, when you're starting to work on your canvas, it'll come. You'll be aware all the time, watching. Is it showing up? That thing, that vision, And every time you make a mark. And that's why it says, while working on parts or local areas, every time you add a new thing, the question is, have you made it in such a way that it's actually improving the grand vision? Is it really bringing the grand vision? We don't go around making things right for each other, for themselves, after sort of setting up some nice thing. We keep making the vision more impressive. Every part is trying to fulfill its role. But if you don't have the vision, the parts get a little bit lost, and it begins to be this exercise like a camera, transfer this, transfer that. There's no success there for you. So make sure you're maintaining the greater vision, make sure you have it, and that you keep watching for it to be showing up on your canvas. Have a concept fixed in your mind and eyes. Now that's obviously applies to that idea of the greater vision. Have a concept of that fixed in your mind and eyes. But that applies to every single note you hit. Have a concept of it. The first note you hit, look at it until you think, I think I get that. And then go look down on your palette and mix it until that does what that thing does up there and put it up there. Doesn't mean it's going to be true, by the way. And even the first note, you might put it up there and say, oh, gee, I didn't think it was going to do that one and hit the canvas. So that part, you can make that more like, but even then, it doesn't mean anything. It's not about this note being right and that note being right and all that stuff. It's about what they are as a set. So each of these has to be right to each other. So each time you make a note, it's now going to be not just the note itself, you have a concept of, then you've got an idea of it fixed in your mind and eye, but it's now going to be the note to the other note. And that's true as Ang. This is an Ang concept, he's talking about drawing. But he says if you don't have an idea of the thing fixed in your mind and eye, you'll be pushing shapes around all day long. And that applies to the whole and to the parts. So learn what that is. Learn to get a concept, get an idea of it, fixed in your mind. This is where you have to use your imagination. You have to use your memory. You have to be able to hold it in some place in your mind, not in a way you can't see it literally, okay? I've never been able to, and I've never found a need to be able to. But you have to have a grasp of it, and it's all about, of course, what it's doing, So, and that's true. It goes all the way through. It's from its color, its values, its shape, everything related to painting. Every time you're doing something, you're doing one of those things primarily, right? Like that's why I said the first thing we do is we hit color notes. I say no matter what area you go into, know what you're doing. First hit a color note, get that right? And then so that's very easy to get an idea of a color note. But if you're trying to get the color of something while you're drawing it, you're not going to get anything. Okay, nothing is going to work out for you. So that's a big deal. It's something I probably could have included in this conversation. And that is learn to, and maybe I do later. Actually, I do talk about that. Learn to isolate these elements, and that's, I think, the problem solving one. So let's get to that later. And then finally, being effective but cursory, suggestive. Okay. You don't have to nail something right now. You have to be adequately effective, though, at articulating the shape plus the angle, for example. You have to be effective at getting the effect. But you don't have to. Don't be down there sort of worrying it to death, trying to really get it. Because you're not going to get it as much as you're going to get it when you see more data in relation to it, right? So as you get around more, the new things you put in can be the new things you're adding, which are going to be usually at a lower level. They can be more accurate because you have somebody to build on. But your job, though, is to remember to go back to the first things you put down and make them more effectively. And the process that we use is gradually making everything more and more effective. I describe it as you go around and you're doing all these things that is the start. Everything that is going to be in a painting is in the start, right? Meaning colored values and all that stuff in the right locations on the page. And it's going to suggest the great impression, right? But as you go through it further, depending on what your goals are, you're going to get to the next level of all the same things. And so it's like spirals. It spirals and you could say gets more finessed and more fine. But there's, as I've said, I found that I can take this methodology and bring what you would call a literal realist conclusion to it, or I can bring a broader one that doesn't cross all the T's and dot all the I's, much more like a Benson. That's what's so beautiful about this way of working, that you actually are going to have unity from the very beginning. Holistic unity of the visual impression from the very beginning. And once you've acquired, and that's why you have to know what your goal is, and you have to know what the beauty is you're after, but once you've acquired that, you won't necessarily be wise to go and then say, oh, but we got to get everything more realistic, because there's going to be a loss of focus of your primary interpretation, with the purpose of your interpretation. But to get through a good start, and anytime you're in this area, your first job is to get in there and articulate it quickly, broadly, very effectively. Broadly means not counting 50 details, not by the minuscule, but by the impression, by the big impression. And so broadly stated, but make it as like as you can, make it true in whatever way you're working on it at that point. If you articulate something and really get the shape right, but you don't have the effect right, and be more effective with the effect. Get the effect, go back and do it again, make the effect. But you're not going to want to do that if you polished up and noodled up the shape. You're now terrified about that. You don't want to lose that precious shape because you didn't put it down in a cursory enough way. You held it in a, what do they call those, you're precious, you held it too close to yourself. And you can't do that in the start. You have to be effective, but you got to be cursory enough to come back and be willing to come back and change. Okay, but it's got to still be true enough to be useful. Okay, well, that's the dilemma of painting, isn't it? Of our kind of painting. All right, so I'll leave you at that. I think I went a little long there, didn't I? Oh, I didn't. It didn't go too bad. Okay, surprising. All right, so again, thank you for your sharing, for your donations, for your subscribing, likes, comments. Appreciate it all. Haven't had a chance to look at the comments because my computer and I are behaving badly toward each other. So I somehow lost my ability to connect with them. So I'm going back trying to get myself there, but haven't been able to get to it today. Okay. And in the meantime, have a great week, and we'll see you in what is it going to be, part 7, I guess, of the series. It's turning into a few more. I think I said 3 to 5 or something, and turns out I just reinvented the list, and it turns out I'm up to 40 some items. So if I could cover like this 6 a day, it would still be 7 or 8 of these. All right. So 7's coming up. Thank you for your attention, and see you. Have a great week.